Hello, welcome or welcome back. I'm Tally, and today we're going to go through some genre blend books. So this is entirely inspired by one of the prompts for Escape the Readathon, which is hosted yearly by the amazing Lexi from Books with Lexi. I will put all the details here and the link to her announcement video down in the description. This is a month-long readathon that runs from the beginning to the end of May, and one of the prompts is a book that is a genre blend. So I have 12 recommendations for you. Hopefully one of these might be something that's of interest to you. I've tried to do a range of genre blends, so there should be something for everyone. And let's start at the beginning with a cozy horror book, and that is The Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher. Although I do believe quite a few of T. Kingfisher's books would fall under this, I picked The Hollow Places as I think it is the perfect example of how horror can also be cozy. So in this, we follow Carrot. She is in the midst of her life kind of falling apart, and she goes back home to help her mum after surgery. No, she goes to help her uncle after surgery, and he runs a antique slash what's the word I'm looking for, like an antique shop, but it's not antiques, it is antiques, but it's like I can't think of what the word is. It's like interesting antiques. There is a particular word and my brain's gone, but she decides to help out in his store and I believe live with him because she finds her mum quite overwhelming, but she is there to help her mum as well. And then one day she finds a portal in his shop and she goes through and ends up in a mysterious world which is full of interesting creatures, let us say, and it's almost like a portal nexus, and it is spooky but so funny. It has T. Kingfisher's trademark humour throughout. If you haven't tried T. Kingfisher before, this would be a great place to start, and if you have read some of T. Kingfisher's books but haven't picked this up, you're doing yourself a disservice. Make sure you pick it up because it is such a good book, and if you are able to, and if you can, give the audiobook a try because the narrator was absolutely perfect for this role. Next is The Heart by David Sodergren. So this is a romantic horror novella. We follow Muriel, who is this little old lady who lives in the Scottish Highlands, and the town, or rather the village she lives in, is very small and a lot of the people have moved away, and there's only a few kind of older people left that don't really have much going on basically. And I think they're American corporation is determined to buy up all the houses, knock them all down and build a golf course, and Muriel ends up being like the last one standing. She does have family. She has a son and he is married with a child, but she doesn't see them a lot. Her husband has recently passed away. She is in absolute mourning for the loss of her husband, and she's like, no, I'm gonna fight this. I'm gonna fight this till my dying breath basically. And she is the biggest hold up for this company that are determined to build their golf course. One day when she's going for a walk, she comes across this like goo, and she takes it home, and her life takes a very strange turn from that point. I would definitely recommend checking the content warnings on this one, particularly if you are uncomfortable with things like elder physical abuse, because the contractors that want to build this golf course, they don't hold back at all. If you want some sci-fi with your romance, this is How You Lose the Time War by Max Gladstone and Amal El-Mahtar is the perfect novella for you. In this, we are in a dystopian future we follow Red, and we follow Blue, who are on alternative sides of a time war. And this war, as referenced by the name of it, has been going on for so long, and they can jump in and out of different time periods. The two of them start leaving notes for one another, as they are the best, and they start trying to tease each other. They form an unlikely friendship, and then it develops into something more. And the closer they get, the more they realize that perhaps the war that they're fighting isn't what they thought it was, and maybe the civilians and the people being pulled into this war aren't actually getting anything out of it. And this is just one of those books that packs a real punch in a short space of time. I do think it's one of those books that is very much worthy of a reread or two, especially if you want to fully kind of pick up what's going down. I'm not sure if you ever really 100% understand it, but some rereads certainly help. So this is one of those sci-fi romances that, you know, it really, really worms its way into you. Let's talk cosmic horror. So This Thing Between Us by Gus Marino is such a good cosmic horror. It's a novella. We follow a young man, Diego, who loses his wife Vera to a awful event. She is murdered, and then her death is used in like some political campaigns, and he just finds that everyone kind of loses sight of Vera as a person, and he is really, really struggling in the midst of his grief. And if I remember correctly, this is slightly non-linear in how it's told. We have like flashbacks of him remembering times of them together. And then strange occurrences start happening. They did happen leading up to Vera's death. Their Alexa type device starts playing up, and things just get a lot worse after her death. As Diego spirals into his depression, these occurrences ramp up, and it just gets quite crazy. I think this is a really good grief horror book, and if that sounds like something you could possibly enjoy, this is well worth your time. Sticking with the cosmic horror genre blend, we have The Ballad of Black Tom by Victor LaValle. Victor LaValle is a fantastic author and well worth adding to your TBR if you haven't already. And in this, again, it's a novella. We follow Charles Thomas Tester, who is trying to get by in New York in the, I'm not sure when this is set, possibly the 50s, I could be wrong though. And he's just trying to get by. He's trying to get food on the table. He's trying to, you know, be able to pay for a roof over his head. He is hustling throughout Brooklyn with his music, trying to make a life for himself, when he catches the eye of a wealthy white man who invites him in to play his music for the elite, for an elite group who possibly turn out to be slightly cult-like, and possibly something gets risen in a Lovecraftian-esque manner. This book was so good. This is one that I strongly recommend picking up via audio if that is an option to you, because it was just such a delight, and I think it was an amazing way to consume this book. Now, let's talk historical horror. This is a subgenre slash genre blend that I'm starting to quite enjoy, and I think a really, really good example of this, which also features a slight romance subplot, is Mexican Gothic by Silva Moreno Garcia. So in this we follow Noemi, who is a wealthy socialite in the 1950s. However, she wants something more for her life. She wants to be considered for her brain rather than just her looks, and currently she knows how to use her looks to get what she needs. Her father agrees that she can go to college as long as she goes to visit her cousin, who has written a worrying letter to Noemi's father. In it, she claims that she believes her new husband is trying to kill her. So Naomi finds herself going to this like really ancient rundown mansion in the middle of nowhere to go and visit her cousin and her new husband and his family. On arrival, Naomi quickly discovers there's something awry, and maybe her cousin is not as crazy as she might have initially thought. This is a book that you do need to check the triggers for, and I would particularly highlight eugenics as a content warning for this book. However, if you enjoy fungus horror or fungi horror or spora, I'm not sure how we pronounce it, this should be top of your list. The next historical horror that I think everyone should check out is The Reformatory by Tananarive Due. This is my first book by this author, and I will be picking up much more. The Good House is my next one to pick up. If anyone's read that, let me know. I'm quite excited to pick it up. And this follows a young black boy who kicks a white boy after the boy makes inappropriate comments to his sister. Robbie then finds himself sent to a school for boys, and as this is set in Gracetown, Florida, Jim Crow, Florida, in the 1950s, this school for boys is not a safe place. It is effectively a prison. During the course of this book, we follow Robbie and his experiences within the school, and then we follow his sister Gloria on the outside, who is determined to get him out by any means possible. And despite being a young black girl with a father who was accused of inappropriate things, she is not going to let that stop her from saving her brother. Robbie discovers whilst in the school that he has to do things that are quite questionable in order to survive, and when he accidentally lets the warden know that he can see hinks, ghosts, everything kind of gets out of hand, and he gets pulled into something that he can't see a way out of, and the warden is determined to get rid of all of the ghosts of the boys that he has hurt. This school was based on true stories of what had happened in the 1950s, and loosely based on a school that a relative of Tananarive Due actually went to. So that makes the horror even worse, knowing that it is based on some true events that have happened to children and people throughout our history. The Familiar is a historical fantasy book, and it was a recent read for me. This is the most recent book by Leigh Bardugo, and we follow Lucia in the height of the Spanish Golden Age. She is a servant for a slightly wealthy family, not as wealthy as they like to be perceived, and she is trying to hide her Jewish heritage, because in this time period, anyone of Jewish heritage who have not renounced and moved over to the Catholic faith are being rounded up. She is also trying to hide that she can carry out magic. However, when her mistress discovers it one day, her mistress decides to use Lucia's gifts to better their position in society. This decision puts Lucia in the eye line of the king and the Inquisition, and she must try to keep her history a secret while also trying to forge a future for herself. And she finds herself with some quite interesting companions to help her through this predicament she has got herself into. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson is a mystery romance trilogy. This YA trilogy follows Pippa, who is working on her, I think it's an A-level project in her final year of school, and she decides she's going to investigate a murder that had happened in her small town quite recently. And despite her promising her teachers she won't speak to anyone that was actually involved with it or related to the dead girl, she goes full Columbo and investigates it all. She is putting it together for a podcast, and she ends up speaking to the brother of the boy who is well known in the town to be the killer. But the more Pippa looks into it, the more she believes that he was framed, and there is a racial element to it. And this book is so good, and the trilogy and the romance is just so realistically written and so believable, and I just think this was a perfect trilogy. It is well worth your time, in my opinion, if you can get hold of it via audio, or if you are comfortable listening to books via audio. I do recommend this as it has interview elements and podcast elements. If you can alternate or tandem between the physical / digital and audio, I think that is a great reading experience for this trilogy. The next mystery romance I have is In Want of a Suspect. This is the first in the Lizzie and Dusty mystery series by Tirza Price. So this is actually a spin-off from the Jane Austen murder mystery series, which I've not read yet, but I will do because I loved this so much. And this is a retelling of Lizzie and Darcy, and they are both investigators. Well, it's more Lizzie is an investigator, and she works as a private detective for her father's firm. She does find that a lot of people don't take her seriously because she is in Victorian London and she is a woman. And luckily she has Darcy, who is absolutely besotted with her, and he is coming along for the journey just to kind of offer his manliness, I guess, so that people take her seriously. This is a really fun YA romp, and I big recommend this. I'm going to go into the rest of the series. This is the first in the series, and then I desperately want to do the spin-off series as well. I want to get the physical copies because the covers are beautiful, and it also made me really want to read Jane Austen, which I've not yet read. So yes, pick this up if you haven't already and you enjoy YA mystery, if you enjoy Victorian mysteries and that kind of thing, give this a try. And then a YA dystopian horror we have, I mean, all dystopian books are quite horrific, but we have Hell Followed With Us by Andrew Joseph White. To be honest, I could have put any of his books on this list because they're all fantastic and they all have horror and then a mix with something else. However, this one I think is a really good one to read, and I think particularly right now in our time period, this would be a good one to read. So in this book we follow Benji. Benji has recently escaped a evangelical cult that he was brought up in. This book is set in a not too distant future in which the world is not as we know it. And when he escapes this cult, he joins up with a rebellion team who are a bunch of queer teenagers, basically. And he finds himself kind of caught in the middle of this war that Benji never wanted to be a part of in the first place. He has also been infected by the cult he'd grown up in to become a bio weapon, and he's basically a ticking time bomb, which is the worst thing considering he has just made friends and has started to fall in love with one of the rebellion group. This is great if you want trans and autistic representation in your books. This should be top of your list. And then finally is Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. So this is the first in the Southern Reach series, and it is basically all of the genres. It's sci-fi, horror, dystopian, mystery. It's all of them, and It is quite a short book. It's only about 6 hours on audio, and there is a series and there is a film for the first book as well out. I think it's on Netflix in the UK. So in this, we follow a group of surveyors who are sent into Area X, which is an area that has been cut off from the rest of the continent, and it's an area that nature has reclaimed and human civilization no longer thrives there. The first expedition into this area was a raging success. The second expedition resulted in everyone committing suicide, and the third expedition ended in all of the members turning on one another. The group that we follow are the 12th expedition into this area. We follow 4 women, an anthropologist, a surveyor, a psychologist, and a biologist, and it is their mission to go in and map the terrain, but they cannot be sure what they're seeing is real, and they cannot trust one another. So there we have 12 books that I think are well worth picking up, and they all would tick off the prompt of a genre blend if you wanted to take part in this readathon. If not, they are just books you should put on your TBR. Let me know in the comments any that you think I should check out, or any recommendations for other people. Leave a like if you like this video, subscribe if you want to see more by me, and thank you so much for joining me today. I'll see you soon. Bye friends.